Programming is mathematical in nature, and as you might expect, there's plenty of built-in scope for some quite intense maths. C++ has a lot to offer someone who's implementing mathematical models into their code. It can be extremely complex or relatively simple. The basic mathematical symbols apply in C++ as they do in most other programming languages. However, by using the C++ math library, you can also calculate square roots, powers, trigonometry, and more. C++ mathematical operations follow the same patterns as those taught in school, in that multiplication and division takes precedence over addition and subtraction. You can alter that though. For now, create a new file and enter the following code. While simple, it does get the old maths muscle warmed up. Note that we use a float for the numbers variable, while you can happily use an integer. If you suddenly started to use decimals, you would need to change to a float or a double, depending on the accuracy needed. Run the code and see the results. Well, check this code to see the multiplication and division, how it can be applied. Again, execute this simple code and see the results. While not particularly interesting, it's a start into C++ maths. We used a float here, so you can play around with the code and multiply by decimal places, as well as divide, add, and subtract. The interesting maths content comes when you call upon the C++ math library. Within this header are dozens of mathematical functions along with further operations. Everything from computing cosine to arctangent with 2 parameters to the value of pi. You can call the header with this code. And here's the square root of a number. Here, we created a new float called number and used the sqrt function to display the square root of 134, the value of the variable number. Well, build and run the code and your answer reads 11.5758. Now let's calculate powers of numbers, which can be done by using this code. Here, we created a float called number with the value of 12, and the POW is where the calculation happens. Of course, you can calculate powers and square roots without using variables. For example, POW with 12 and 2 parameters outputs the same values as the first cout line in the code. The value of pi is also stored in the CMath header library. It can be called up with the m_pi function. Enter cout and then mpi into the code and you get 3.14159. Or you can use this code to calculate.